the neat and sad thing is that these kids are having these emotions and these thoughts about you dying, or if you die, what's going to happen to them. You know, in kindergarten, first grade. So these emotions are real, and they're going through it at this young of an age. So remember that these kids are smart. They are realizing that they are different, and that the situation is different. Hey YouTube, I'm Jay.
And I'm Em.
And you're watching Em and Jay. Please like, subscribe, comment down below if you have any questions or if you're loving this content. And most of all, enjoy the video.
Enjoy!
Separation anxiety. What is it? How does it affect your kid? And here's some solutions on how to deal with it.
Yeah, so we noticed that separation anxiety can be really prevalent in adopted and foster kids. I know personally we have experienced that, so we felt like we wanted to cover that topic because we feel that a lot of times it wasn't really talked about growing up.
Yeah, so nowadays we have a lot more resources, aka YouTube, to help parents and foster and adopted kids get through these emotions that we didn't have resources to as a kids. And so right now we're just going to go right into it, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then you can answer them, and ask me some couple questions, and we'll go from there. So the first thing is, what is separation anxiety?
Separation anxiety is so broad. That's the kind of hard part of things. So with me, a lot of times it presented at night or when I was physically away from my parents, or my adoptive parents, I should say. So for me, it was, okay, I'm physically separated from them, and if they come and pick me up, they're gonna die, or something bad is gonna happen, or I'm gonna get hurt, or they're gonna get hurt. And some way, somehow, we're gonna be separated forever. And usually, as grim as it sounds, it was death was a big thing for me. As I was, I was really afraid that they were gonna die, or like I said, something bad was gonna happen to them. And that really presented either like at Bible camp. We always joke, but really I could not make a full week at Bible camp. And then also a lot of times too was at sleepovers, I noticed, if it wasn't at my house.
And the neat and sad thing is that these kids are having these emotions and these thoughts about you dying, or if you die, what's going to happen to them. You know, in kindergarten, first grade. So these emotions are real, and they're going through it at this young of an age. So remember that these kids are smart. They are realizing that they are different, and that the situation is different.
Definitely, yeah. How would you say it presented to you or for you?
For me, it was more on the lines of not really like separation. It was more just fear in general. You know, if I was away, if I was by myself in the basement for too long, I was afraid. If I was outside for too long, I was afraid. You know, what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my brothers, what's going to happen to my family, right? Yeah. I've already was separated once from my biological mom when I was old enough to remember. So I didn't want that to happen again. I didn't want to get separated from my family again. So that was definitely one of the aspects of my separation anxiety. Another facet to it was wanting my biological mom when I was in foster care. That separation from her. I remember I was doing some hard math, like first grade math at the time, and I remember just having a breakdown. I taped "I Want My Mommy" on the window, so when they pulled up in the driveway they could see it, and I just was having a breakdown, and it was just because I was separated from this person I knew for most of my life.
Yeah, and that was like, what, 2 weeks into foster care?
Yeah, it was early into foster care,
Yeah, so just realizing too, and you know, yeah, you kind of had that physical, you were removed, and then also remembering too, people who maybe have been adopted at birth, like this is just as applicable because I was adopted at birth and I struggled with separation anxiety for years after. And so remembering that it can present itself years later or even weeks later, like it all depends on the child for sure.
Yeah, and then just some different examples of, separation anxiety. It can be lashing out. It can be latching onto you consistently. Fear of dark, fear of being by themselves, very right? Physical and verbal lashing out towards bedtime. And these are just a few of the many different ways that it can manifest.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, with that, thankfully, we've been able to find a lot of solutions. A lot of times, people or kids just kind of age out of it, and that's a good thing, but also just remembering there's still solutions that can be guiding them or helping them along. Either if they just grew out of it, or are growing out of it, or are just starting.
Yeah. So let's get into solutions now.
Yeah.
So what are some solutions that you used or experienced in your story?
Yeah, so my parents had a baby monitor. I believe it was one way, so they could hear me, and that was super, super helpful as it could be. And just my mom especially would be right there to pick me up at sleepovers, Bible camp, 2.5 hour drive. She did it, for me. And so that really helped me just remember I wasn't alone in that. And I know separation anxiety, the term wasn't really around when we were both facing it or struggling with it.
Nope.
And so, yeah, it was really embarrassing for me, and it felt really isolating. I know a lot of times I would, say to myself, why can't I just stay the whole week at Bible camp? Or why can't I just do this sleepover?
Be normal.
Right, exactly. Why can't we be normal? And so with my mom and dad both, but especially my mom, just being there at beck and call, that really, really helped me normalize, but also just feel like I was supported in that. And so I think just being there for your kids is a huge thing, as cheesy as it sounds.
And you mentioned the baby monitor. That's one of the bigger ones that I experienced growing up. Was we had a baby monitor, or you could use a video camera or whatever, or a recording device, right? Mm-hmm. But having that recording device and talking to them, saying, "Hey, we are watching you. We're here for you. All you have to do is speak into the camera or baby monitor, and we can hear you, and we can come down and get you." I think that's one of a huge thing that people can use for separation anxiety. For me, in my example, it'll be rigid bedtime schedule. I feel like everyone says that, and it's super hard. It's different for every kid, right? But for me and for a lot of other people that I've talked to and experienced in my life, a rigid bedtime schedule is extremely important. And here's why. When I was afraid of these different aspects, my mind was racing towards bedtime, and I was having that separation anxiety and just being fearful. Knowing that at 7:30 that's the bedtime snack, 8 o'clock I'm in bed or getting ready for bed, and 8:30 I'm usually asleep. That's what happened 7 days a week, 365. Always. There's a few times where we're able to stay up late and watch Wheel of Fortune, but for the most part, that rigid bedtime schedule took all the X factors out of it. Right? There's no way for me not to know that I wasn't going to have my bedtime snack at 7:30. It happened every night. And so that consistency really helped ease my nerves around that time.
Yeah, and going in with that, I like that you had brought that up, because really at the end of the day, separation anxiety stems from attachment. And so a lot of these kids either don't have or didn't ever have a secure attachment or a safe attachment. And so creating those two with consistency, with stability of a schedule, for example, is so, so key, because then that takes away that anxiety of, am I going to get a bedtime snack? When can I go to bed? Am I going to feel safe enough to go to bed? So having that rigid night schedule as well as you can for a family is so important, for sure.
Yeah. The next example I wanted to give you guys, Emma 100% agrees, and it's becoming more of a fad, but it's 100% true and tested, is weighted blankets.
Yeah.
Weighted blankets do a miracle. There's tons of research out there talking about just anxiety in general, but definitely one of the subcategories is separation anxiety, and it definitely helps with that. I have a story of a time where I was having a temper tantrum again, right? And my foster mom came and she just laid on top of me at my bed. Just laid on top of me, keep me from squirming around. And in that moment, I felt so safe and secure. even though at the time I wasn't thinking that, but I definitely felt just, just
Yeah.
weight off my shoulders. And I fell asleep, and I had like the best nap my whole entire life then, and she fell asleep too. So just remember that this weight can be that comfort of you guys, right?
Yeah.
So having that weighted blanket helps with the anxiety, and it helps just make them feel like you're there. Another thing that definitely helps with weighted blanket is the scent too. So if
Yeah.
you use the laundry, use the same laundry detergent, right?
Yeah.
So when they smell you, they smell your laundry detergent, they smell it on the blanket also. So just
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think it's helpful for anyone with anxiety. I still use it. Jalon will still use it. We love ours for sure. And it just, yeah, it's like that comfort. I don't know how else to explain it. It feels like a big hug, and it's a consistent. Obviously, with kids, make sure it's probably on the lower weight side, not like don't get a 50-pound one. But yeah, it's just super helpful, and I feel that it's really beneficial for people with separation anxiety, which is cool because we, growing up, didn't have that as a resource, and so learning from that and being able to utilize these newer resources.
yeah. And like I said, this doesn't have to be just for separation anxiety. This can be fear of sleeping at night,
Yeah.
hard time sleeping at night. Weighted blankets, I'm not gonna say it's all cure all, but it can help in a lot of situations when it comes to bedtime.
Definitely.
So if you guys are thinking of getting a weighted blanket after we told you guys about this, right? We have a description in the link below to Amazon where you guys can purchase some, and that'll help us out and help you guys out with getting a weighted blanket.
Yeah, and we want to hear reviews too. If you do get them, please let us know in our comment section if you like them or if they didn't work for you. We want to know. Because it is a community and we want to be a part of your community for sure.
If you guys have questions and you guys are still in the video at this point, please put them down in the comments, and then we can probably make a video off of your questions. So if you have questions or concerns, please put them down in the comments, or if you just love this video, put it down in the comments.